What's going on, guys? So it's been a while since I made a video, and today we're going to talk about a stock market crash, and not just a stock market crash, but a huge economical collapse. And the great thing about me making these videos is that I don't make these videos every month, every year. I've actually never made these videos in my life, and that's not because I didn't think there was going to be a huge economical collapse. It's mostly because I wasn't sure when it was going to happen. I'm going to tell you a few different signs we're seeing that is making it even more and more obvious that we're approaching a recession, a stock market crash, or an economical collapse, whatever you want to call it. These videos take a lot of time and editing and research to do. So if you enjoy content like this and if you want to see me make more videos like this, let's give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit that notification, smash that subscribe button, and let's get this video started. Throughout our history, we tend to have a market crash or a stock market crash or some sort of recession every 10 years. And one of the best things to look at is history. Unfortunately, this time around, it has been way over 10 years. So if you started investing 10 years ago, you probably have no idea what a stock market crash looks like. You're in for a surprise because things could get a lot worse and get a lot uglier. Another main reason to see a huge stock market crash or an economical collapse, or to even see the dollar collapse, is mostly because of the type of monetary system we have. So I'm going to quickly explain to you exactly how central banks work. First of all, central banks print money, and that's an unlimited amount of money with nothing stopping them, with no resources to back them up. And what central banks do after printing all that money is they loan that money out to banks, and they charge banks interest. And once the central banks print that money, they have nothing to back it up. They have no resources to back it up. They don't have gold to back it up. They just print that money out of thin air. They just created debt out of thin air. So what do banks do? The banks, they take that money, they take that debt, and they loan it out to people, and on top of that, they charge them interest. If you have a mortgage, if you got a bank loan, or if you have a credit card with your bank, you're basically borrowing money and creating debt. It's just a never-ending debt bubble. And what happens with bubbles when they become too inflated? They pop. And let's be honest, if we had a recession or an economical collapse, who would this affect the most? Mostly the lower class and the middle class. And the reason why is because wealthy people have a lot of assets, and when we have hyperinflation or inflation in general, their assets increase in value. Meanwhile, the middle class and the lower class don't have a lot of assets. The only thing that increases in value is their expenses. If you read right here, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. I'm not sure how clearly you could see that, but before the 1970s, every dollar was backed by gold because we had the gold standard. Unfortunately, we no longer have the gold standard, and the main reason is probably because we don't have enough gold to back up the money we print. It's fiat money, and all it is legal tender. If you want to see me go more in depth and expose the central banks, the fiat currency, or our monetary system, you could click the link right here or click the link in the description. So obviously this system benefits the central banks more than it benefits the average person. Central bank can probably print 100 of these in a second. Meanwhile, let's say your average person or your below average person who's making 15 bucks an hour, they have to work about 8 hours just to make one of these. So how does it make sense that a central bank can print unlimited $100 bills, but then for someone to get one of these, they have to work 8 hours? People have to trade time for this paper or this plastic. The central banks, they just print it like it's nothing. They don't have to back up any dollar they print, which is one way to prove that the monetary system is broken, and it is one of the main reasons why we're gonna have a huge economical collapse. Because the simplest way to put it is debt is the modern form of slavery. If you're in debt, that means you have to work your ass off to pay that debt. Technically, you're slaving away for this bill. And that also explains why all these countries, Canada, US, China, etc., are trillions of dollars in debt. Let's not forget about what happened in the past 2 years. The main reason why we're seeing inflation. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's not Putin's fault.
Putin's tax, that's really Putin's gas hike. That's his gas hike.
Inflation is Vladimir Putin and gas prices, not a joke.
The main reason why we're seeing inflation skyrocket the way it is because these countries are printing never-ending money. So for example, in the past 2 years, what have our governments done to help people out during this pandemic? Apparently they're helping people out, but in reality, they just made a big problem worse. For example, here in Canada, we had a program called CERB, and every month you didn't have to work, you didn't have to do nothing, you were given $2,000 every month. But in reality, all they did was print more money, which allows more money to go into circulation. And what happens when you print more and more money? Your money becomes less valuable. And you will see that at the gas station, you will see that at grocery stores, you will see that everywhere. You can buy a lot less for $100 than you were able to 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Inflation will never stop, and the main reason is the monetary system, the fiat currency, the central bank system is broken, it's rigged, it's a debt bubble that's gonna. You should definitely check out my central bank's exposed video. We're gonna move on to the next main reason, and I'm mostly gonna be talking about why I expect the stock market to crash. The main reason why I expect the stock markets to crash is mostly because all these companies are overvalued and they're about to start making a lot less money. Once we enter a recession, once people start spending all their savings because they're out of work, once people realize their $100 cannot get them what it could have got them 2 years ago, people are going to start being frugal with their money, people are going to start saving their money, and people are going to start spending a lot less, which means that all of these companies that have rocket high valuations will start getting a little dose of reality. And we've slowly started to see a correction happen in the stock market, and unfortunately this may just be the tip of the iceberg. But the great thing about market crashes or the stock market's crashing is that it also creates amazing opportunities if the markets recover. So if you guys have been eyeing down a couple companies that you thought were overvalued a year ago, maybe now is the perfect time to start your positions in those companies. And the reason why I say start your positions in those companies is because the markets could continue to decline. This could just be the beginning of a bloodbath. This could be the biggest crash in our history. I do think this is the longest bull run we've ever had, so a correction or a crash is almost expected. And then there's also other reasons why there will be a stock market crash or an economical collapse, and it is because it's intentionally being done. Have you guys not heard about the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the New World Order?
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder.
And we are in the midst of one of the historic global transformations that is going to eventually lead to a new world order.
And now is the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there.
Our planet is slowly entering a new era, and although most of us don't want this era to come or era to happen, there are groups in the world like the World Economic Forum where a bunch of billionaires who have more money than they know what to do with make decisions for the world. Now, I didn't vote for any of them, and I personally hope that their plans don't succeed, but from the looks of it, 99% of the world, they're willing to do anything their screen tells them to do. I wish I could tell you what to do. I'm in your screen, so why don't you just smash that like button? And I think the main reason for the Great Reset is because they kind of know that the system is about to implode and they don't want the world to point fingers at them. The system they want to create is a system based on control. They want to control everything. We're going to have digital currency in the future, which controls all our spendings, contact tracing, which they attempted to do during these lockdowns, where you need proof of medical records every time you travel, every time you enter a train, a bus, plane, a building, a restaurant, cameras everywhere, which they already have, a social credit system, which China already has. Israel has started to implement it. So we're entering a new era, a new system. And in order for us to accept this new system, we must reject the old system. These guys will come as our Lord Saviors with their Great Reset.
I see the need for action. I see the need for a Great Reset.
With their Fourth Industrial Revolution, with their New World Order.
The Fourth Industrial Revolution has become a reality.
Which will be a world with control. You will be tracked, you will be traced, everything will be digitalized, and that's what our future is looking like. And if you don't believe me and you live in a first world country, you could type 2030 agenda and your country. For example, I'm from Canada. I could type Canada's 2030 agenda, and there's actually links to a government website where they will show their whole agenda, what they plan to do by 2030. Also, some other reasons to see a huge economical collapse. Some of the reasons could be unknown. For example, war, COVID, all these things are unpredictable and no one really knows what's gonna happen. I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust mainstream media if my life depended on it.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our
Whatever mainstream media shows me, I take it with a grain of salt. I do my research around it. But unfortunately, 99% of the population is not like that. If their screen tells them one thing, their screen tells them we're at war, their screen tells them hide in your house, 99% of the population is compliant. Believe it or not, during these tough times, the most millionaires and billionaires are created. A lot of people may see these as scary times, and then there's a lot of people that take this as opportunities. For example, if we see the real estate markets crash, I guarantee you there's going to be millionaires and billionaires all across the world buying property, buying land, because it's going to be on sale. And the same goes for stock market. If the stock markets crash, there's going to be a lot of investors around the world who will be buying during those times because they're getting basically companies that they would have bought at a higher price on sale. To sum it all up, as long as our governments keep printing money and central banks continue to run our monetary system and continue to print fiat money, we will continue to inflate this debt bubble. And it's only a matter of time before this debt bubble pops. And if we do see a market crash, dollar crash, an economical collapse, and a recession, we will also see the housing market crash. Right now, houses, especially here in Toronto, are overpriced. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of people buying. At the peak of the market, most of these people are not purchasing the houses outright. They're just getting loans and they're mortgaging the house. Now, let's say in a couple years, interest rates continue to increase. Over time, a lot of these people, especially people who are buying rental properties to rent out to tenants, what happens if people can no longer afford rent due to hyperinflation, due to them losing their jobs? What happens when all these landlords with a bunch of houses that are not paid off yet, what happens if all their tenants can no longer afford to pay rent? Those landlords will not be able to afford their mortgage, their electricity, which will mean the banks will repossess all their homes. And that could very be one of the reasons for the housing markets to crash. So unless you're a millionaire or billionaire who owns millions of dollars worth of land and all the properties paid off, then you have nothing to worry about, especially when it comes to the housing market. But if you're someone who has financed 10 different houses, renting them all out, and depending on that as your income, I would be very careful, especially buying houses during these times when all these houses seem to be overvalued. I would almost say we're in a super bubble. The housing market exploding, stock market exploding, governments continue to print records amount of money. So inflation exploding. Price of oil and food will continue to rise, which will make it a lot harder to afford for the lower and the middle class. The value of a home will continue to rise. Interest rates will continue to go up, which means homeowners and landlords will have to pay even more money for their mortgage. All these things combined is the reason why I think we're going to have hyperinflation, we're going to have a great economical collapse, and probably the biggest market crash we've ever seen in history. Very soon I will be making a video on how to protect yourself when it comes to market crashes, real estate crashes, economical collapses, etc. But if you guys enjoy content like this, don't forget, leave me a quick thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithms. Hit that notification bell, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye bye.